Hello, everyone. So you can tell it's been a while since I have been on here because I did not realize that I was going live and I had to delete a whole video because for the first minute I was live and I didn't know I was live. Anyway, welcome back to Intuitive Tapping Breaks. I'm really excited to get back into more of a routine with tapping breaks and the intuitive tapping breaks that we were doing probably a few months ago. Anyway, today's topic I would like to touch on, it was something that I was actually moving through myself yesterday, and it actually made me think of the new Mel Robbins book that she has out called Let Them. And I've heard her talk about this concept of let them in the past, and I really actually quite resonate with the message and the concept and just how we can unconditionally allow people to be who they really are and to show up. And I also really love the quote, allow people to be them. It's not an actual official quote, but you're allowing people to be who they are, but then you are placing them accordingly in your life. So today I wanted to talk about letting them, but also how do we apply this concept to let you, to letting yourself do what you are letting other people do for themselves, right? So, how you can be the most genuine sense of who you are, the most genuine version of who you are, to tap into that innate energy that you have, to your moods, your mindset, your motivational states that you fluctuate through, and how can you let yourself be yourself? And in the same capacity that you let others be themselves unconditionally. So the first round today, I wanted to talk about what that might look like with around, allowing us as moms, especially as moms as women, we have a pretty large capacity, I think, in general, for allowing people to be who they are. We are pretty forgiving. We're pretty flattering. We're pretty, we are for the empowerment of others, right? Think about how we uphold our family and uplift our family, how we serve and support our family, our friends. If our friends are doing things for themselves, we are there for them to encourage them and to uplift them in those ways. And vice versa, a lot of us I know have pretty good support systems, whether it's family, friends, online communities, whatever it is, through our business and work, that we do have support. We are uplifted and encouraged ourselves, but we don't always recognize that. And I think the biggest disconnect between recognizing that we are supported and encouraged is that we don't allow ourselves to support and encourage ourselves, right? So I think a really big disconnect in allowing ourselves to be even more supportive and encouraging and uplifting to others is that we can only uplift and encourage as much as we are able to show up for ourselves in that regard. And this one, I think, is kind of a catch-22, a double-edged sword, because I think a lot of the time it is easier to be more supportive and to serve and support more people outside of ourselves, right? Like where it's a lot easier to see the good in others and to be supportive in others, and to not necessarily be able to recognize those things in our own selves. But I do think that that's where a disconnect is, in that in order for us to be able to be genuinely who we are, we need to apply the same principle to ourselves. And I think that when it comes to comparison and criticism or judgment, or that feeling that we get where, yes, we are being supportive and we are uplifting and encouraging others, and we sense some of the times, I don't know, I feel this, is that I feel that there's a missing piece within me that yes, I'm doing what I need to be doing on the outside, but on the inside I feel a little bit empty or a little bit hollow in that. And so that's the space where we are not allowing ourselves to be and do in our own innate energy and the essence of who we are, essentially, and we're not recognizing that within ourselves. So what I wanted to share and what I wanted to kind of let this be a jumping off point for today's session is, yesterday, after I spent a full weekend with my kids and with my husband. Last week was a very busy week. We had a lot of house and home things going on. There's a lot of things going on with the kids. just school wise. Everything was kind of tailored last week, even more so than usual, to the kids, the house, the home, the family, whatever dynamic, right, for myself. So there wasn't a lot of things that I was able to let myself get to, or that I wanted to do for myself. There's a lot of other things that had to be taken care of and prioritized first, right? And that's not to say that I didn't take care of myself or anything, but there was more of an emphasis on everything else that needed to get done, which is not my default state. I think that's a big placement, like put a bookmark on that, and look at what your default state is with regards to your house, your home, your family, your work, whatever else you have on your plate. Where is your default state? I think it's really important to look at. I have rebuilt my default state to be attentive to what it is that I am feeling, where I am in my energy, my mood, my mindset, my motivation. What do I have to offer? Because it stems from how I feel on the inside. And I have deliberately created a new default state where I am regarding myself first, so that I know where I can place my energy in the outside world and what I have. And of course, this is dependent on where you are circumstantially with your current life experience. Like, my kids are a little bit older now. My husband works full time, and I have time during the day to kind of focus in and do these things for myself. And I have deliberately created pockets of time for myself. But that was something that was taught. That was not a default state. I think a lot of default state for mom and women is take care of everything, and then whatever's left over you get. And that does not have to be your default state. So anyway, sometimes it's necessary, and that was the case last week. Yesterday was my first kind of like break where I got to be me. I got to check in with myself and tune into my energy. I didn't have to be a mom or a wife, or I didn't have to do anything around the house, and I just really sat in my energy. And the one thing that I do, that I have done since I was probably like 12 or 13, was the way that I unwind and get connected back into my stream of consciousness and just who I am and how I feel in general, is I play games. So this started out when I was like 12 or 13. Like I said, I would sit and play solitaire on my bed with a physical deck of cards. And I would just listen to music, or I would just sit in silence and I would just play solitaire. And it was something that was keeping my mind busy and preoccupied enough so that I could feel what's going on within my body. I could let, all of the busyness of my mind be focused in on that game. And then I could, expand and open up to everything else. So of course I didn't know it then what I was doing, but now I do. And so that's what I did yesterday. I was on the computer. Now it's on the computer. But yeah, I was just playing solitaire and silly games on the computer. And, I was like, okay, well, let's just sit and unwind for a few minutes. And it turned into like a 3-hour, because as soon as I let myself be in the energy that I was in, that's when so many things started shifting. That's when I started to really tap into my insight and creativity. And I was really able to start to cultivate and tune into, but also allow to be expressed where I was mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually at in that moment. And this kind of sparked this conversation in my head where I was like, hey, well, we let people do this. We know when our kids are overstimulated and they need a break. We know when they need certain things to help them unwind or reconnect with themselves, or, tap into where they are and to be in their own space. And we know where that is for a lot of people in our lives, but I think we know what this is for ourselves, but we don't necessarily allow ourselves. We don't let ourselves be unconditionally in the state or the energy that we are currently experiencing. And so that's what I wanted to tap on today. So the first round today, I wanted to talk about what it means to let yourself. So just that simple statement, let them, let you, right? So let you. What are any resistance, fears, blocks, barriers, challenges that you have that come to mind, when you think about letting yourself be in this state or the energy where you are? What comes to mind? Why would you not just let yourself be yourself? And so I would love to hear in the comments. Obviously, this is kind of on the replay, so I still would love to hear comments or see comments. So, and I will come back around to check those out. But for myself, there is this sense of, am I using my time wisely? Am I being, productive, or am I, doing what I'm expected to do with a certain amount of time that I have? Because last night it was one of those moments where if I'm not in this place that I am today, that I built for myself, and I deliberately made myself tune into, taking care of myself first, and I'm becoming a priority, I would have never let myself sit there for 3 hours in the evening while I was, could have been doing more laundry. I could have been prepping meals. I could have been going to bed and getting some sleep. I could have been doing this, that, and the other, all of these other things that are expected of me as a mom, as a wife, as a woman. I could have been working on my business, which eventually it did turn into business related things. But, I didn't have that expectation placed on myself. And so I think that is one of the biggest blocks and barriers and challenges that we face, is that if this is not cultivated, if this is not made normal for you to prioritize yourself and let you be who you need to be in any given moment, we will allow other expectations to come in and take place and override what it is that we need, right? So this is just practice. This is just a habit. And this is what I do in my EFT sessions and my energy cartography sessions and any of the work that I do, which I have a special announcement coming up after we do some tapping. So stay tuned for that. But let's start with the first round of tapping, where we are tapping on that expectation that we have that overrides. It's a predetermined or predefined expectation from someone else or something else, and it overrides how we feel and what we need in any given moment, and allowing us to, fulfill that. So we're going to take a nice gentle breath. You can start tapping on the side of your hand and say, even though I would love to take some time for myself and tune into my energy and just give myself what I need. That's not how it happens. That is not my default state. That feels foreign and absurd. There are too many other expectations placed on me that I can't just do that. And I forgive myself for believing that this is true. And I'd like to love and accept myself anyway. Even though I would love to take time and just be however I need to be, to do whatever I need to do in order to feel fulfilled. That just doesn't seem possible. I have way too many other things on the go. I cannot pay attention to myself or my energy. I have too many other things on the go. I'd like to forgive myself for having this belief. But I'd like to also love and accept myself exactly where I am today. Even though I would love to just take time for me and to meet myself where I am and to fulfill whatever part of me needs fulfillment. But that just doesn't seem possible. It happens for other people, but it doesn't happen for me. I forgive myself for believing this is true. And I give myself permission today to maybe see if I'm open to something different. Moving to the top of the head. I have too many things to do. Eyebrow point. I have laundry, side of the eye, dishes, under the eye. I need to make lunches. Underneath the nose, I need to be busy. Underneath the mouth. I can't just take time for me. Collarbone point. Other people need me more now. Underneath the arms. I can't just take time for myself. Underneath the chest. That's just not how it works. Wrist points. It must be really nice for other people to experience that. Top of the head. But that's just not the way it works for me. Eyebrow point. Part of me does not want to see this differently. Side of the eye. I have a really bad habit. Underneath the eye. Of believing that I cannot take care of myself. Underneath the nose. That I have to do what everyone else expects. Underneath the mouth. I have to deal with the demands of everyone and everything else first. Collarbone point. And then maybe if there's anything left over. Underneath the arms. I can take a couple minutes for me. Underneath the chest. Maybe I'll binge a couple shows. Wrist points. Maybe I'll go down a bunch of chocolate ice cream. Top of the head. Maybe I'll just fall asleep in front of the TV. Eyebrow point. That's what my time looks like for me. Side of the eye. I love and accept myself anyway. Underneath the eye. I love and accept the fact that I'm stuck in this way. Underneath the nose. I will not brace or resist or hesitate. Underneath the mouth. To allow this part of me to be seen and heard. Collarbone point. I am not afraid. Underneath the arms. To let this part of me have a tantrum. Underneath the chest. And to let this part of me fight for these limitations. Wrist points. Because I love and accept all parts of me today. Top of the head. And so right now it feels like too much. Eyebrow point. Too far of a stretch. Side of the eye. To believe that I could let myself just be however I need to be. Underneath the eyes. And to release all of the expectations. Underneath the nose. That I have placed on me as a mother, as a wife. Underneath the mouth. All these expectations that are placed on me as a woman. Collarbone point. I don't resist. Underneath the arms. This part of me that needs to come up and yell and scream and shout. Underneath the chest. To be validated and seen and heard and acknowledged. Wrist points. And I'm giving myself that space today. Okay, take a nice gentle breath. Take a sip of water if you need. That round of tapping, I really want you to lean into that round of tapping. And this is something that I very, very much feel so deeply about and passionate about, is letting the part of us that wants to fight for the limitations, that wants to fight for the beliefs or the habits or the routine, that regular autopilot routine that we have in place that says everything else needs to be done first. I have like minutes maybe to myself in a week or a month. And when I do have time for myself, I like bash myself. I like don't do what I need to do. I treat myself horribly, or I treat my body horribly, or I eat really crappy food, or I do things that are not actually fulfilling. They're just like instant gratification, right? And I really, really believe that we need to acknowledge that part of us, because she has been handling shit. She has been handling everything in your day-to-day life for so long, probably more than you even know. And she has just been moving. She has been keeping things going. And so for us to come in and say, oh no, you're not needed anymore. This part of you that is like self-sacrificial and thinks that you need to struggle and be stressed and anxious, and you need to just pay attention to everyone and everything else before you get any little crumbs of time or energy for yourself, or any kind of attention for yourself. That really needs to be, she needs to come up. She needs to let loose. She needs to throw a tantrum. And I love that part of tapping to allow us to be able to voice and vent and to just express ourselves in the most, toddlerish ways. Sometimes we just want to be angry. We just want to hold on to that thing. We just want to justify why it is that we're doing what we're doing. And if we try to come in and say, no, we don't need that. We can do it better. We can do it differently. You are going to be treated like a queen with all the time that you need for yourself. And you're going to treat your body like a temple, and you're going to do this and you're going to do that. And everybody's going to cater to you, and you're going to accept it, and you're going to love it, and you're going to receive. And that part of you is like, fuck no, I'm not going to receive it. I'm not going to receive it. And so there is like this bracing against what we actually want for ourselves, what is actually fulfilling, what is actually genuinely what we want to allow and receive in our lives. There's a part of us that is going to fight it, because we have not acknowledged her in what she has done for us in that survival mode, or that warrior mode that we're in, or that mom mode that we're in, where we make shit happen. We don't know how we do it. We don't know where we're going to get the energy. We don't know where we're going to get the information. We don't know why we know what we know. And we just show up and it gets done. We just show up and it happens. We say, wow, I'm exhausted. But we know that if we needed to stay up for the rest of the night because our kid is sick or whatever it is that we have on the go, we will. I mean, how do we find it all? We don't. We generate it. We cultivate it within ourselves as mothers. And we just show up and we fucking do the damn thing. And we don't give that part of us enough acknowledgement. And we don't, appreciate that part of ourselves that just pulls whatever we need out of thin air and says, poof, what do you need? Here it is. There you go. So I think it's really, really helpful to allow yourself to express and vent and just come unhinged in a safe space, right? In a space where we're not going to allow that to snowball, and we're not going to let it dim our whole entire day or week or month. But I'm playing around with this idea of doing like 20 minutes tap and talks, 20 minutes session. You hop on a call with me, you get 10 minutes. We tap through all of the points and you vent, you share what you need to share. You say what you really feel. You say what you really mean. Don't hold back. You don't have to sugarcoat anything. You don't have to put a disclaimer in anything. And 10 minutes, you just hammer it out. You just like let loose. You come unhinged, you let it all out, you cry, you yell, you scream, whatever you need to just get all of that energy out, all of those pieces of you that are held in together, and to like, we're not allowed to let that part of ourselves out, right? We're not allowed to come unhinged. We're not allowed to yell and scream, although we do. And we're not allowed to do this, and we're not allowed to do that. We have to keep it, but we're fine, right? That whole disclaimer of we're fine. We're not playing that fucking game anymore. And this is what these 20-minute tap and talks are. So the first 10 minutes is like, you're not fine, let it out. And then the last 10 minutes is the redirect. It is the, okay, now that I feel seen and heard in that regard, what is the next best thing that I could feel? What is the next best thing that I could experience? Do I need a nap? Do I need, do I actually believe the things that I've actually said? Do I actually feel the way that I feel? And I know that those disclaimer statements are very valid, because it's not exactly how we feel a lot of the time. It's like, yes, we are struggling in the moment, but it's not in the general scheme of things, we don't struggle. We get shit done, right? And so we're going to flip the switch. We're going to harness whatever it is that you need to, feel neutral for the rest of your day, or to kind of pick up in a place where, you're feeling a little bit more encouraged, you're feeling a little bit more in alignment, and you're not feeling tapped out, or, I don't think the word is placated, but you're not being like diminished in any way, shape, or form, because you've let that fly. You've let that out. Anyway, if you're interested in a session like that, leave me a comment, and we'll work something out. I'm just in the midst of seeing, if those things might work for moms. So we're going to go on to another round of tapping, just to kind of wrap up today's intuitive tapping break. And the things that come up for me, especially when I'm thinking about these kinds of things, is what are expectations? Who wrote those expectations? Like, why is it that we have to live by other people's rules, or live by other people's expectations, or societal or cultural norms, when we're not invested? I understand if people are invested in living a certain way, and cultivating a certain experience for themselves. But I don't think that moms want to cultivate and enhance their sacrificial energy, or their stress, or their struggle. I don't think moms want to pass that down to their kids. So we get to redefine and recreate what that actually means. And can you let yourself just be in your energy? Can you let yourself be in a mood? The one thing that we're going to tap on right now actually is the fear of it's not going to shift. It's not going to change. And we're going to tap also, as we move through this last round, into the affirmation of my energy always comes back around. So let's start tapping on the side of the hand and say, even though I have this preconditioned idea that I have to live a certain way, that I have to be a certain way as a mom. I was shown this in my childhood. I was shown this through society, through the media. And I'm ready to let that go. I'm ready to let go who says I need to be a certain way. And I love and accept myself as I move through this process. Even though other people have put these ideas in my head, I have been taught to be a mom in a certain way. I was taught to self-sacrifice. I was taught that motherhood is stressful and chaotic. I was taught that I had to prioritize everything and everyone else before me. I wonder if I could unlearn this and learn something different. Especially because I was taught this. I observed and absorbed all of these ideas through my childhood, by watching my parents, by watching the parents on TV shows or my friends. There's so many ways I was taught this is the way motherhood is. And I'm ready to let that all go today. And to start rebuilding the way I want to be and what I want to teach my kids. And I love and accept this value that I hold today. Moving to the top of the head and say, I observed and absorbed, eyebrow point, a lot of things, side of the eye, a lot of ideas and concepts Underneath the eye, a lot of conditioning. Underneath the nose, about how I'm supposed to live life. Underneath the mouth, as a mom, as a wife, as a woman. Collarbone point, as a friend or as a citizen. Underneath the arms, all of these preconceived notions and ideas. Underneath the chest, all of these expectations and standards. Wrist points, I'm ready to let these go. Top of the head, I'm ready to let me be me. Eyebrow point, just like I let my family, my friends, and other people be themselves. Under or side of the eye, I am ready to let myself be me. Underneath the eye, I might hold some fears or resistance still. Underneath the nose, and that's okay. Underneath the mouth, I'm ready to hold space for those parts of me. Collarbone point, but I'm ready to release this default state. Underneath the arms, and tap into my true, genuine energy. Underneath the chest, how do I feel right now? Wrist points, what do I need or want right now? Top of the head, what am I drawn to right now? Eyebrow point, I let myself be in my own energy. Side of the eye, I let myself feel fulfilled. Underneath the eye, without trying to change or manage or control anything about me. Underneath the nose, I'm ready to tap into unconditional love and acceptance. Underneath the mouth, for who I really am and what I'm experiencing right now. Collarbone point, I am ready to meet myself where I'm at. Underneath the arms, and I am willing to trust. Underneath the chest, that I won't be stuck in being tired. Wrist points, I won't be stuck in letting the house go. Top of the head, I won't be stuck in neglecting my kids. Eyebrow points, or any other beliefs that I might hold. Side of the eye, when it comes to focusing on my energy. Underneath the eye, because that energy will always shift and change. Underneath the nose, I will always get done what's important. Underneath the mouth, and what's important right now is me. Collarbone point, and I am ready to let myself be in me. Underneath the arms, instead of trying to adjust to everyone else. Okay. Take a nice gentle breath. Yawn if you need to. Obviously, there's some energy moving there for me. And I think, yeah, just can you let you be you? We have a million excuses, a million reasons, a million thoughts coming through our mind about what it is that we think we're going to let go, or what are we going to neglect, or what are we going to leave behind, or what are we going to fall behind on. But the truth is that you taking care of you and your energy, whatever state you might feel. Maybe you're exhausted. Maybe you feel completely fried and frazzled, and you just need to completely tap out of everything. And I remember a specific moment that this was the truth for me when this was probably about 6 or 7 years ago. My kids were toddlers. They were like 1 and 3 years old. My daughter went down for a nap, and my son, who was just growing out of naps, I was like, fuck it. You get to sit and watch some Paw Patrol. And I popped him in front of the TV and I sat with him on the couch and I dozed off on the couch. And my intention before I kind of started dozing and lazing about was, I don't care if nothing else gets done today. If I don't feel better, I'm not doing anything. I had a plan to talk to my husband that night. I was going to message him and throughout the day and be like, pick something up and bring something home for supper because I haven't made anything. I didn't give a shit about the laundry or the dishes. There was this hard decision within me that said, if I don't feel better, I'm not getting off this couch unless I need to take care of my kids. My kids were like, their happiness, their health, like that was my main focus. And then anything else below that I didn't give a shit. 40 minutes, 2 Paw Patrol episodes. That's how I know it was 40 minutes, because it was 2 Paw Patrol episodes. And I took a nice gentle breath and I had been dozing on the couch. My son was sitting there with me and I just remember it ending and I kind of looked up and I was like, are you hungry? And he said, yeah. And I was like, okay, let's go get something to eat. And I got up and we got, I made him a snack and was starting to make lunch. And I was like, I actually feel a lot better. We walked to the grocery store that day. We got dinner. I did a load of laundry. I cleaned the kitchen before my husband got home. And it makes me emotional actually, because it was that moment that I was like, oh, this is what it means to be taken care of. This is what it means for me to give myself what I need. And 40 minutes. I was like in the middle of, the messy motherhood moments where it's like toddlers and diapers and bottles and like everything is a fucking shit show mess. And I was like, 40 minutes is what I needed, to recuperate basically 3 years of motherhood. Anyway, there was a lot more that had to happen before and after that, of course. But that was the moment that I knew. And I was like, oh, there is something to this. And this is what I wish for every single mother to experience in whatever season of motherhood that you are in. Because that moment that you give yourself what you need and you're like, oh, this is what I need. And this is what I can do for me. And everything else falls into place around it. You get the energy back, you get the motivation back, you get the clear mind, you get the on focus, on task, on point, as long as you're taking care of yourself. So this is what I absolutely love about the work that I do, and that I want to just like shout from the rooftops for every other mother to understand and know for themselves. You don't have to do it alone. That's why I'm here too. And there's many other practitioners that are, coaches and whatnot too. But I hope today was helpful. I hope there was something in this intuitive tapping session that clicked for you, and share it. Let me know what you thought. Let me know if there's any comments or discussions or questions, and we will see you next week for another intuitive tapping break. Until then, sending you all the love, and we'll talk with you soon. Bye.